tech guys happy. The inaugural episode, man, I'm pretty pumped about it. So this is episode 1. I'm kind of leaning toward my name, but it's still, I'll probably splice something and come up with whatever name I decide later. This is dope for me. So I've been doing podcasting here and there for 3 years now, and it started off as just me in my basement in my old house, and everybody's seen Joe Rogan, right? So
Facts.
everybody's sitting there like, man, if I'm doing a podcast, I want it to be like Joe Rogan. Or if anyone plays basketball, I want to be like LeBron, Steph, MJ, whatever. So this is like kind of the makeshift version of that, and I'm stoked about it, and I'm happy that you're the first guest. And go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Marty Hallman. Monday through Friday, Verizon business manager. So, I take care of all business accounts and things like that. And whatnot. Deal with a lot of different businesses in the Toledo area, but I'm out Findlay, all types of other places as well.
Sure.
And then, I DJ. So I'm on DJ business. I've done that. It's my 5th wedding season. Do 20, 30 a year. If you haven't booked yet and you're trying to book next year, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
It's so cool because, like, a lot of people just don't think about, like, the ins and outs, and especially if you're doing both jobs. So, I mean, that's, like, really hustling. I think that other folks, and I've been, like, the guy that did ours said that he only did, like, 15 or 20 weddings a year.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, 30 is pretty good, and he had a lot of cool equipment. And I guess what is, like, if you're doing 30 a year,
mm-hmm.
when something comes across your table, you're like, man, this is the venue, like, that you get up for. You're like, oh, easy. Yeah, we're doing that for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. So Toledo-wise, there's a lot of different places once you go out to, like, Napoleon, up as Waterville, like Green Springs, Ohio. There's all types of little niches, right?
Sure.
But favorite local, hands down, is the venues downtown.
Yeah.
So plug them in, I guess. I've no ties. Them. They're not paying me. I promise you.
You still say where they are, though.
But I was just there last weekend, actually. They have their own ceremony room, cocktail area in the middle, reception area next to it. It's just so convenient as a DJ not having to switch places, but still, letting the couple have like their own ceremony area instead of I've done weddings where they're combined. So it's like ceremony and reception, same place, but it's like you walk through the reception tables for your ceremony. And then the hustle part. The hardest thing is, putting trust in somebody else to show up on their special day.
Right.
So, I just do it myself is the easiest way. And, you were talking about when we're going to start this today.
Right.
I'm like, I got a wedding call at 6:30.
Sure.
I got to take this call real quick and make sure we're ready for their wedding coming up.
It's a cool thing because I don't know. I don't know if it's like when we, just because of like how, like our age or what, but I know there's a handful of folks that are like our age that have their own thing kind of going. Mm-hmm. And just me kind of being in this business, selling real estate, there's not a whole lot of public school folks in it. Mm-hmm. It's a weird thing, and I'm not trying to like throw like stones or anything, but I'm sure you go into a room and you can tell like, oh, this dude went to public school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we just got like a vibe about us, and we just kind of like link up quick, and we just kind of talk the same talk, but at the same time, it's a different kind of hustle too, where you don't got to think a whole lot. It's just like, I got to get to that. All right, let's just go do it. And then as the things kind of get in your way, you just move them out the way, and then you're just like, how'd you become a realtor that does 30 deals a year or a wedding DJ that does 30 venues a year? You're like, I kind of just did it. You know what I mean?
And it's funny because actually my Verizon job shows me that more. I've deal with mom and pop that own a farm in Wasion.
Right.
And I deal with people I walk into their factories and they have 50 employees and 50 trucks and all this stuff. And the funny part is the biggest difference is, mom and pop is you expect it. It's their thing, whatever.
Sure.
But then you get the big spots. You're not dealing with the owner because the owner may have, been handed down to him or he may have worked there and got there however he did it.
Right.
But the guy that actually runs it all is the guy I sit down and probably have a beer with at the corner store or corner bar that hardly anyone's in there. And he makes good money. But like he came up the same way. He had to grind through and build trust and work with these companies for a long time to get to where they're at.
Sure.
And those are sort of like the people that you want to sit across the table from and you connect with.
It is just a bit more relatable. It's because then it's not like, oh, how'd you get into this? Oh, I kind of just fell into it. You know what I mean? It's like, for me, I can like look back when I started and see the like how things kind of panned out. So like for me, when I got going, Michelle and I, she was 7 months pregnant and we started shopping for a house. We knew we were getting evicted, which was like the scariest thing ever. We were just like, oh, we'll just pay rent. It's just one of those things you do. And we kind of butted heads with our landlord. And I don't mind being the dumbest person in the room because I am addicted to learning. It's like just something that I absorb stuff that's crazy, and but I don't like being treated like I'm stupid. You know, it's two different things. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that kind of happened when we were living at this place, and because of that, I was like, this dude isn't gonna punk me out of this, man. So I'm gonna start learning this real estate game, and then I started learning. I'm like, this is kind of dope. And then we got started getting shown some houses by our agent, and not that she did a bad job, but you look across the table and you're like, man, I could do that.
Yeah. She didn't do nothing to make you want to buy. Like, right. She just sort of, here it is.
Yeah, but it's like, man, and then like just knowing the experience that we went through and like how like stressful it was, and it wasn't any like anything our agent did. It was just like knowing the right kind of hugs that we needed along the way, because it was like, first baby, it's coming. Mm-hmm. We're trying to thread the needle, and like the way the story plays out is that our son is born on Christmas Eve of 2020. Oh, no, we closed our house on Christmas Eve of 2020. Our son was born January 7th of 21.
Okay.
So we were in the house for like a week and a half.
Okay.
You know, so like that's like as stressful as it can get. So I just like look at their things, you know, and it's just like, this is kind of the way that I want, like the personal touch like you're talking about with mom and pop.
Yeah.
And just being like, hey, this is how I'd want it to go. I would really like to get a basket full of celebrate me type of stuff when I get to closing.
Yeah.
So it's like, wouldn't it be cool if I got all that for someone else? You know what I mean? So like things like that, just that I'm not so far removed from the other side of the fence, I think, yet, where I can still do the personal stuff, and it makes it very, very personal. You know, it's so not like, just a transaction where some people are like, oh yeah, just calling people number, just business.
Who's next?
I don't even go to my closings. I'm like, dude, it's closing day. We need to get the haircut. We need this is it.
This is a big thing for you. It's a big thing for me.
Yeah.
So what would you say? You know, obviously we've been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, way back. You know, Watson, Almeida.
Sure.
Them days. So you know, obviously I seen you got into real estate. I knew your past. You know, from I believe electrician at some point you were gonna do, and then Jeep and everything else. So like, how did you get started so fast in real estate? You know, that's something I've always wondered, because they always say you're gonna struggle first year, second year, and next thing I know, you're like, I'm closing this, I'm closing that. I got all these things going for me. So like, what separated you from everybody else?
I think it's tough to say. I think there's some of it's kind of like just that, especially with our school, it was such a melting pot. You know what I mean? Like there was cliques, but there wasn't cliques. Like you could always go just like jump over and hang out with whoever. You might have had to talk a little different, but you didn't have to change who you were.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that stuff helped me. The electrician thing. So I've always been interested in like housing and building, and I like to see like what is getting done. Mm-hmm. You know, that's always been kind of cool to me. So I can like clock in and be like, I put in a shift. Did I put in a shift? Yeah. You know, but like the electrician thing was always a cool thing to me, because I could leave and be like, I did that today. Mm-hmm. And then that didn't work out just for a handful of different reasons. And then I got back into retail, and I was trying to get back into school for electrical engineering, which is just more numbers and the same kind of idea of things. And then I kind of got to a certain point in my early 20s where it was like, I'm not really making, or like my mid 20s where I'm like, I'm not really making money. And our brother works at Jeep, and he's making like $100,000 a year. And I was like, dude, that's really good money. Like I'd be happy with that. So then I got in there and I was doing that for a bit, you know, the 3-day-a-week thing, which isn't much. And then I just tried to do the 7-day, the 70-hour. I'm like, man, this ain't me. I knew the kid was coming, and I'm just like, I know what kind of dad I want to be, and I just want to be present. No, now I'm not trying to, again, throw stones at anyone that does that and provides for their family. It's just I know that I want to be there. I want to be there, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
And I was kind of searching for the right thing, and real estate just happened to be that. With that being said, the timetable that I gave you for when he was born, mm-hmm. I didn't have a choice. I had to make it work. You know what I mean? We just
got extra bills.
It happened fast. We went from like renting to like having a roommate forever, to splitting our bills with us, to like, no, this is you now. It's time to be an adult. You have this tiny little guy that's relying on you. Your wife ain't working for 12 weeks. Mm-hmm. So figure it out. So my first few months, I think 3 months, I didn't close anything. Mm-hmm. And it was just talking on people's shirts, making connections, letting them know like, hey, I'm in the business. This is what I'm doing now. And from there, after my first closing, it actually worked out really cool. So I found this woman that was looking to buy a house. If she's watching this, God bless you, because she wasn't working either. She was a stay-at-home mom, and she was like, let's go look at some houses. And I'm like, we can look at 3-4 houses a day. Yeah. Like, let's just go do it. I got to go get my training wheels off. So we just had fun looking at houses all over town. And then it just started happening. I was working at Lowe's from like 4 to 1 in the afternoon. So I was getting a full-time check, and then I could still do the real estate thing in the evening because no one wants to look at houses usually at 7, 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
So then as I was tugging on people's shirts and just meeting people, then it kind of just turned into I was taking money out of my own pocket by going to work.
Yeah.
And then once that started happening, I knew it was time to, cut Lowe's out. So that I was only at Lowe's for 2.5 months.
Okay.
And then a lot of it too, so a lot of it's my sphere and, people like you looking out for me. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it's the circumstances that I fell in. Again, it's kind of less like the hustle we talked about. I called this place that we're sitting at right now. Most people put an extra $100 in there and they go into a pool, and all the brokerages in town call them.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need that $100.
Yeah. You tell me. Yeah, it's like, did you say groceries? Like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah, I'm like, I can make a phone call for $100. So I called a few people and I sat down with a few other companies. And then I got here and they're like, yeah, it'll be like 15, 20 minutes. We're just going to see what you're looking for out of the business. And I'm like, I have no idea. I've never done this before.
Yeah.
So I sit down with my
broker. I got my license.
Right, yeah. So I sit down with my broker, John, and me and him sit and just shoot this shit for an hour and a half about everything that he's excited to do for me, for my business. Mm-hmm. And it was a dope feeling because, like you said, the number of different things, Jeep, the electricians, so many different little retail things in between. I had to interview for all of those. So when I sat down here and he's sitting there telling me how excited he is for my business, and I don't even know what I'm doing yet. I'm like, I'm not interviewing. He's telling me like he's interviewing, and I don't even know what questions to ask yet.
Yeah.
So that always resonated with me, and from that, just like surrounding myself with the right people has helped a lot, and being able to get the jargon and sound like I know what I'm doing, and now I do know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. Where people were like, why is this house? There's a house going around on Facebook. Some of you guys might be able to check it out. It's listed at like 185. 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 1,200 square feet. And they're like, why is it so much? And I'm sitting there online looking at it like, I bet you they didn't check the septic tank. So if anybody looks at that, make sure you check the septic tank because I bet you it's bad. It's a $25,000 fix. If you don't, just stuff like that. People don't think about it like, ooh, the floors look great. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like just stuff like that. So, I guess in the same question, like back to you though. So like, I know it kind of started with like little stuff here and there at like O'Shea's and whatnot, but then how did it go from something like that to like 30, things a year where instead of just like, oh, this is just a little gig I do on the weekend, to hang out with the friends and I get to pick the music kind of thing.
Yeah. I'll never forget, man, the way I started, I was actually bartending at O'Shea's at the time. So that's how I got into DJing. And our DJ called off Saturday night. We're packed, there'd be a line, whatever else. And made a couple phone calls, had a guy come in. He was terrible. He was god awful. And I'm sitting there listening to this music like, we're paying this guy to do this. Like, give me a phone and Spotify. Like, I got you. Like, at this point. And that night I went home and got a Marketplace and found like a cheap setup for $100 to practice at home.
Sure.
Practiced in the basement for 6 months. And then and had another call off about 6 months later. And a friend of mine, John, he was like, hey, man, I know you've been practicing. You think you're ready to do like a night? I'm like, yeah, sure. He's like, you sure? I'm like, yeah, cool. Did good on that Sunday. He was like, I'll put you on the DJ schedule as well. Started doing that a little bit. And then I was actually doing one of my first like private events was a cornhole tournament. And it was a buddy of mine running the tournament, just getting started off running cornhole tournaments. I was like, dude, I'll do it for free. I was like, I'll just throw a cornhole while I'm, there as well. Sure. I'll go and play. And someone walked up and like, you do weddings? I'm like, yeah. Right. I'll be honest. I said, yeah. I said, yeah. I was like, when? They're like, oh, next year. I was like, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I went home that day and got on YouTube, man, because I didn't have any idea on what doing a wedding, no information on the documents I needed to send them, contracts, what songs. I mean, I've been to weddings,
sure,
but never thought about, creating
like
a timeline. The back end, right? And then just network partners. DJ Hobby, he owns Rico Sounds. Definitely my biggest network partners. I use his photo booths for the weddings that I do. So if they ever want a photo booth, we network. His company comes out, does it for me. But any questions I've had, really any of the biggest Toledo DJ companies. I've either done an event for them.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to them. I've sat down with them, had a conversation. Because Javi, I think he's got 7 or 8 guys that goes out, and he'll have, especially in October, he'll have weddings that are complete. Like his dates locks out. He's got 8 people doing weddings in one day.
That's wild.
And for me, I get to that point, I could definitely hire more people. I turn away weddings. I give them to Javi. I give them to other people. Recommend other people that are in the business. Another one, Brennan Brooks. He's another one that I work with a lot. And I give them away because I don't necessarily trust someone to show up on your special day.
Sure.
And me working another full-time job, it's like I don't really have the time to go and train somebody the way they need to be trained in order to go do a wedding.
Right.
I've never gotten less than a 5 on a review.
Right.
Countless thank yous and all those things. But yeah, man, just started from the bottom and told someone yes that I did them. And then the first year was 5 or 6. I had like 20 the year of COVID, all got pushed back, canceled.
Sure.
But now we're here, and I counted last week. I have 16 for next year for 2024 and 2 for 2025. So like it's just never ending now.
That's cool. A lot of that, it sounds silly, but it's not super different. Where people are like, I love what you're saying. This is great. Mm-hmm. We'd love to do this, but we have this and that coming up. We're probably going to buy in the next year or so.
Yeah.
And then it's just staying in touch with them. You know what I mean? So, like, just, hey, how's it going? And then, again, like, just the yes man kind of thing when you're early on. I got my Michigan license, like, a month after I got my Ohio license because of exactly that. My first ever closing was a guy who had a condo in Florida, and he owned a house just off of Summerfield in Michigan. Mm-hmm. And he just calls me up. He was a Zillow lead. We used to do that. And basically, you sign up for Zillow leads, and they take, in full transparency, when we were doing it, they took half of our cut. So say I make $1,000, now I'm making $500, 500. So
yeah.
But it's better than zero. You know what I mean? So I was cool with that. Sure. So, and then I'd just be sitting around the house, and what would happen? My phone would go off and say Zillow, and I'd be like, "Oh, we gotta, it's 7:00. I gotta take this wedding call," kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
So I answered the phone, and this guy goes, "Hey, we found this place over by St. John's. It's a little condo. This is what we're trying to do. We want a condo here and a house in Florida. We want to flip it." I'm like, "All right, cool. I can help you out with that." So we get to this place, and this dude, it's never going to go like this again, and it hasn't since, because every deal is so different, it's hilarious. Mm-hmm. This guy walks in, I'm sitting there as green as can be, and I'm like, "You guys got any questions?" I don't really know anything anyway. This old dude, he's probably about as tall as you, he's got a little bit of a hunch, he's got a little mustache. He gets his flashlight going, he's looking through everything. Me and his wife are just sitting there talking about whatever, the weather, where they live in Florida, Yeah. This guy comes back 10 minutes later. He's like, "This place is suitable. This will fit our needs." I'm like, well, "Okay."
Thanks.
I'm like, "Do you guys want to put an offer in?" He's like, "Yeah, I think we do." I'm like, "Well, have you talked to anybody about financing, or do you want to do, like, what's the deal?" He's like, "We'll pay cash." I'm like, "Okay." Yeah. I'm like, "Do you need an inspection?" He's like, "I just did it." And I'm like, "Okay." So
like, who's this guy?
Yeah. So we negotiate for 30 minutes or so with the sellers, and we get it under contract. And the guy goes, "That was very smooth." I'm like, "Thanks. I thought so too."
Yeah.
He's like, "Are you licensed in Michigan?" And I'm like, "No. But you know what? I'm taking my classes right now. I should be wrapping them up in about a week. So, we can get together when you guys are ready, and we'll get the place listed for you." I literally passed my 40-hour class in a weekend. So that I got done so fast. I called the lady on Monday, and she was like, "Your certificate can't populate because nobody's finished it within the free trial time period."
That's great.
So it sounds great, but then I shot myself in the foot because she tells me that, and I'm feeling myself. I just passed Ohio. I'm like, "Man, this is going to be cake." So I go to take the first test, and then you have to wait 2 weeks every time. Mm-hmm. And I just happened to be on the longer end of that when I first scheduled it. So I go and I get in there, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, "I know how to do all this and that and this and that." And I'm sitting there, and I get about halfway through, and I'm like, "I don't know anything about
what most they're talking about." Like,
yeah,
it's different.
It was just different enough. I think I missed it the first time by 3 questions. Wait another 2 weeks, take it again. I passed it. I call my dude up. I'm like, "Hey, you ready to go?" He's like, "No, he went with somebody else." And I'm like, he's like, "We were ready to go last week." And I'm like, "Man, well, good luck." I've done probably, and it just worked out that way. Had I not been a yes man like you were in your situation, you wouldn't be doing the 30 deals. I've done almost half my business in Michigan.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's funny. So the real question is, it went so smooth, and he brought cash to the table. Did you ask if he had any friends? Like,
I wasn't there yet, dude. I was dumbfounded.
Can I be your guy now?
I wasn't even thinking about it, because then I'm like,
I think you need to call him and thank him for your first deal. If he didn't know it was your first deal.
I gave him a sweet closing gift, man. Like, I gave him like a big. Michelle made a plaque out of our cricket, and put like his initial on it, and then put like the Zacharias on there, and then you like hang it on the door, and like it was sweet. I was really geeked. I'm like, this is my first deal. I'm like, being a realtor is easy. We closed in 2 weeks, and I just wasn't at the networking part where it's like, every time we do a like wrap up, like, hey, I hope I want to help your people as much as you think I helped you on this end, and I just didn't. I just never did.
He said, I need to look it up. No, that's funny, because I mean, I would say on average, I probably book 3 to 4 weddings a year. Yeah. Based on a wedding I did the year prior. Hey, I was at so-and-so's wedding. Like, you were awesome. You were good. I want to book you. Right. Or, hey, I have a guy that literally just texted me today from a wedding I was at 3 weeks ago. He was like, hey, I'm getting married next year, so on and so forth. I would love your information. Give him my card. He reached out. Yeah. And, that's the biggest compliment. Same as you. If someone calls you like, hey, you said you took great care of them, that's the biggest compliment in any business that you do yourself.
Oh, for sure.
That you get that.
That's why, so we don't have, obviously, weddings. There's, however many people. What's, average attendance for a wedding that you do?
Probably 150.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't have that.
For sure. Yeah.
Whenever people were like, you care if mom and dad come, or I want to show my brother the house, or I'm like, bring everybody. Yeah. You know what I mean? Bring them all. Because I think, and I don't know, I haven't been out with other agents, but when I go through a house, especially on the buy side, I'm like nickel and diamond everything. Just because and it's happened to me early in my career where it's just like, all right, let's get it, under contract, here we go. And then they're like, what do you mean you didn't catch this, and that? Yeah. So then it's like, well, just to remove that ambiguity, we're like, oh, my realtor should have saw that kind of thing. I look at everything. Yeah. But I also don't try and do if you like the house, I'm not going to be like, well, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. No, right. No, but you want them to know, hey, especially if they're going to get an inspection and all those things, right. You want to be upfront with them versus them wasting their time, especially if they're paying for an inspection.
Inspections are $400.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I can sit there on the spot and be like, that door frame is crooked because there's an issue with the foundation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it took me, I just said that in 3 seconds? Mm-hmm. I just saved them $400. Yeah. Yeah. Because then they're going to go downstairs and look at the basement differently now. Instead of just it's got 4 walls, there's a drain.
Yeah, it's not wet right now.
Right. Instead of if it's slightly off, and then you can look at it. It's just things like that. You said a little earlier, and I wanted to kind of come back to it because I have no idea what goes into DJing at all. Mm-hmm. You were like, your first couple of sets, you were like, yeah, I did pretty good. What's the measuring stick for that? Is it number of bodies on the floor? Is it how quickly it clears out?
Yeah, I mean, especially, so you mean wedding wise or
in general?
So I mean, a bar crowd. I mean, it's pretty easy. Sure. You're just playing hip hop music, especially I'm in hip hop bars. Yeah. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. There's definitely nights that are better than other nights, but I think it's more about the people that are there versus whatever. But wedding wise is when you can really tend. When you see all generations, so you got grandma, mom, bride and groom, right, and the kids out there having a good time, to all types of different music, whether you're blending music, whatever, that's really what sets it off. That's what makes it feel good. But from a wedding versus a bar, I've worked in bars way less than I used to. Sure. Because I do so many weddings. There's no better feeling than making someone's one day that you got one shot. Right. But I will tell you, let me go way back. So there's some buttons on the computer that you can hit. So not on my board. So I got my board, my speakers, everything going. Right. But let's say you go to find a song, right? Well, if you hit A when you're not in the find bar, for some reason, Serato, the program maker, thinks that the song should play in reverse if you hit A, okay? Well, first time I ever did that, I was at a wedding. Yeah. Didn't know about the button at all. So the song's playing in reverse. It doesn't make no sense. I'm scrambling to pick another song and play it. Right. Best thing I could do was say, wrong button on the mic. That's all I had. Yeah. That's all I had. They laughed. It kept going. Night was good. But there's definitely little things, like you said, maybe you're a yes man at the beginning because like, hey, you want it, like, got to get you in, whatever else. And now, you asked me to travel. I'll travel. I did Traverse City this year for Aaron Newman.
Yeah.
His Ashley's sister.
Sure.
So I went up there and went to Traverse City, but now you have to respect my price. I'm not going to change my price for you.
Right.
Because I feel that I'm going to give you something no one else will.
Right.
That's all there is to it. But I'm also not going to overcharge like some people do. Mm-hmm. For the same things that that I'm doing. I had someone reach out to me a couple weeks ago. It was from a DJ company I don't know, and if I did know, I'm not gonna tarnish their name or anything like that. But it was a local Toledo wedding, DJ only, no uplighting, no photo booth, no nothing. They wanted $2,000. I can tell you right now, ain't no DJ, not the biggest DJ companies in Toledo, charging $2,000 for DJ. Yeah, I'm just telling you, it's not. In full transparency, like if you are paying that in this setting. Now, if you're in LA, you're in Miami, I'm sure that's what the cost is. But your venue's probably also $30,000.
Right.
know, but so those type of things to where no matter what income you go to, I always try to work with the people. Say, hey, can you cut out an hour? I can lower your price. Mm-hmm. But I'm pretty strict on the people that I take and that I work with now.
Right.
Because for instance, I got asked to do an 80s party at the Toledo Club. So I did a tailgate party for them. I have some other things planned to do with the Toledo Club downtown. But they asked me to do an 80s party. I said, you should probably call Javi. Like, yeah. I was born in 93, okay? Like, yeah, I can look up some songs and stuff like that, but it's not going to come natural. It's not going to come. I could do it, like, but if you want 4 hours of 80s, like, you probably going to want someone that came up around that know the album tracks, not the hits, so.
That's dope.
Man. Yeah.
There it is. There's the death. I'm just trying to. I don't know why it just hit me like that.
He said, well, not where we're going, not where we're going. So, no, man, I like the podcast idea. I think it's gonna be cool, especially if you continue to bring different business owners and people in different parts of the network, because I think it opens the doors to a lot of people, for sure.
No, I think it's cool, and like I said, it's something I've loved doing before. I know that's where I was going with it. There it is. I dropped it, and you were just 80s party, and then my brain just... I was going to ask, so what I do a lot when I have online investors, and that's kind of a lot, that's where I was segueing to, is I think a lot of the people that come in are a little, like, out of touch, because they don't realize, and I don't think people that live here realize, like, how cheap stuff is compared to the rest of the world.
Man.
I have a client that I worked with, and he was... a construction worker in Los Angeles, mm-hmm. And he was letting me know that he still lives with his parents, 1,100 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a basement, mm-hmm. $400,000. You get something like that around here, you're talking like 110.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
all day long.
Even in like the way the market is now.
Mm-hmm.
And he owns 4 houses. Like I've bought 4 houses with him, and he still lives at home. So he's filling out his portfolio, and he's still at home. So he's like doing it like, right.
Yeah.
So he's just going to work every week, and even so like he's like an entry level construction worker. I think the kid's like 24.
Okay.
And he makes like $90,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
We're like here. It's like if you were making $90,000 a year, it's like at 24, you're like, I guess I'm done with life. This is what I do. Now.
Yeah, you mean I don't know what their gas is out there, but shoot, right now it's a little over $3 here.
Right.
It's the cost of living's down. I mean, shoot, I was just in Atlanta last week for Verizon work.
Mm-hmm.
I go to this dive bar. That's I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Orchard Inn, but if you've been there, tiny little corner bar, neighborhood bar, $2 $3 beers. I'm in the same type of bar, paying $8 for a beer.
Oh, it's nuts.
It's just like, that's the cost of living and to be in cities like that.
Mm-hmm. And when I went to Vegas is different, obviously, because it's all tourists.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, I was, just because of the line, I'd be like, I'm getting 2 beers every time I go up. You just have to, the lines, and then it's like
100%.
$22 every trip. And I'm just like, it is what it is. Just close your eyes and swipe. Michelle got out there after I was there for 3 days already. Mm-hmm. And she's like, a bottle of water is $5. I'm like, babe, just close your eyes and swipe. We're cool. Let's just,
you just gotta let it ride at this point. Yeah,
don't linger. But so I was in the roundabout way. So like with the investors, what I do a lot of the time is I'll do like video walkthroughs, mm-hmm. and just do like, hey, this is the house. We're checking it all out. And like I said, I like to be involved with the kid as much as I can. So like, I'll take him with us, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And it'll just be me and him running through a house. You hear that?
I hope that ain't the alarm. Is there an alarm in here?
I don't know. We'll just cut it back. All right. So technical difficulties anyways. There's some alarm going off. I've never been in the office this late. So anyway.
You know why? I'm not going to say it, but they just seen the all black truck outside there. Like, you got to check it out.
I messaged my, no, because I messaged my brokers right before I got here and I was like, yo, the security is undone. Do I need to do anything? So
yeah,
that's funny. But back to where we were kind of at. So I like to do like walkthroughs for the kid, with the kid anyways, for like my investors and whatnot. And now whenever we go to someone new's house, like if we were to come to your house, he would likely grab your hand and walk you through your own house and show you your house and be like, wow, look at this bathroom. And do you do anything like that with the girls when it comes? Obviously you don't walk them through random houses, but like as far as like showing them the ropes and kind of getting them involved.
Honestly, the coolest one I did, and I told you I networked with everyone. So Jason Kelly owns Book That DJ, another big name. Him and Rico Sounds tend to be like, if you tag me on Facebook, someone looking for a DJ, I see their companies the most.
Yeah.
He actually needed a DJ for a ProMedica event when they do down there at Promenade Park.
Yeah.
They do the movies on the big screen. Take your lawn chair out and stuff. Well, sometimes like they had like Iron Man, Spider-Man, Batman, all them down there signing autographs, face painting. Well, he had asked me if I'll DJ an hour and a half before the movie while the kids are doing that stuff.
Yeah.
So I was able to take them down there, whatever, watch the movie, DJ beforehand, play music. They see all the kids and stuff dancing. So that was a really cool experience to be able to take the kids. A lot of times, obviously, weddings, bars, can't take them. But if I have anything that's like kid friendly, I definitely try to take them. It's just, again, working that day job. Sometimes I do work Saturdays.
Sure.
A lot of times, like sweet 16s, birthday parties, a lot of that stuff I shy away from just because, one, I may not have all the music that you want, especially like a Sweet 16, like this new rap is not for me. Okay. Right. It's not for me, like at all. So, a lot of that stuff. So I don't do a lot of that right now. I'm sure I will later down the road, but 5-year goal, DJing wise, actually, obviously, Drew Lepiars.
Sure.
Whether we decide to go houses or we've also talked about, possibly trying to get our own wedding venue.
Sure.
Deciding what's best for us and whatnot, but getting our ducks in a row, have an LLC, all that fun stuff. But, I definitely would love to have my own wedding venue to where, one, I can just DJ through there and have my stuff there all the time. Yeah. Be ready to go. But also, doing so many weddings, seeing so many, hey, people like this, people don't like this. Right. This doesn't work for, a lot of brides and grooms. They're making sacrifices here and there. Try to make the all-in-one to where if you want to, a medium, or low budget wedding, we can make it work. Or if you want something to feel like a $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 wedding, we can do that for you as well.
That's sweet.
Yeah, man.
So that's the goal. So I guess, how does it work? Because you talked about some of these other people that are in the industry, and they have a handful of people that work with/for them, right?
Yep.
I would assume at some point, either you've kind of looked across the street like, man, do I want to be a part of that? Or what's the reason you're not?
Well, so think about it. Let's say I charge, I've talked about bringing guys on. I have, one guy that's sort of just starting off DJing. I said, hey, look, my thing is I'll train you to do weddings. I don't want to train the music side of a DJ. So if you can mix music, you can talk on the microphone a little bit. I want that before I train you, because otherwise, like, we're talking 6 months to a year of training, which means I'm already another most likely year out before I can book people for you. Right. So it's really hard to, find someone that's going to be that committed. Like, you really want a year and a half out, because it's going to take me a year to train you. And then if it's September, I can't get you weddings till next May, June, July, August. But the reason why I didn't, and the reason why, I obviously had offers, one, because I'm networked, we're like friends, family, whatever, I go to dinner, I go to their houses, it's all fine. Because why would I do, if I'm already giving you weddings, I have enough. Because let's just say I charge $1,200. Sure. Okay? Charge $1,200. Me, if I have a guy working for me, I'll give you $800. So I'm making $500. Right. I give you $8. Right. But let's say, 15 is sort of high for a wedding. But let's say I'm charging $1,000. So like, let's say he's paying me $5 and making $5. Well, every 2 weddings I do, I have to do 3 or 4 for you. Right. You know what I mean? So
that makes sense.
If it was my only job, I for sure would probably work for someone else, because they have bar contacts, they have everything else. But now I'm so established to where, if I ever did want to leave Verizon, I'd probably have to work 1 or 2 more nights at a bar, which not really wanting to do. Right. But then also I definitely for sure would have to, if I had 3 or 4 guys in my DJ business, I could either go down to a rep at Verizon, or I could just, call it quits.
Sure.
You know? So I've been there almost 10 years now. So.
And that's kind of the thing that's for me when I was getting into this, and I think that you're in like a really tricky but also cool spot where like for me, a lot of it was I pulled the plug on Jeep at right after my son was born, and that was strategic because we don't have like health insurance.
Yeah,
there's none of that, unless we set it up ourselves. And the health insurance at Jeep was crazy. So we just had our second kid, and I think my wife who works at ProMedica, it's still like $3,500 out of pocket. My first son was $100.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I'll sit there and he'll be messing around, running around the house, and he'll like be stomping on like some of my sneakers. I'm like, dude, those cost more than you, bro. You gotta chill. You gotta chill out. Like,
yeah.
I have more invested in those than you almost. Like
yeah.
But yeah, so I mean that's what was the kind of scary part was initially for me. But you also have sounds like a good niche where it's like they don't really mess with each other a whole lot.
No, it was cool because I started. So when I started with Verizon, I went rep, store manager, multi-store. So I had multiple stores as a manager.
Yeah.
District manager. And then I had the opportunity, and I actually took a pay cut for this job. And I've always had a pay cut. I've had other opportunities to apply to be a district manager again. District manager, you hire, you fire. Someone calls off, you better show up and open the store.
Sure.
You got to deal with all the fires that happen in retail.
Yeah.
And, even no different than working at Lowe's. You've seen it. Jeep too.
Yeah.
It's not retail, but there's people worried about people not showing up all the time.
Yeah.
You had to be that guy as a district manager. A business manager, I only deal with business customers and from a front line. So right now I have 16 stores. If you walk in as a business owner and you have a consumer account, it's our job to find out that you own a business.
Right.
Get you a better deal, get you a better pricing by moving you to a business account. Or if you're an existing business account, you're going to call me and I'm going to find out, do you have a fleet of vehicles? Right. Do you have internet that you're paying too much for through Buckeye? Do you have, landline phones that you're doing that you're just paying too much money for them? Because there's so many people out there that don't know Verizon has a full business office like solution.
Sure.
They think it's just cell phones.
Right.
So that's my job and that's what I do now. So now someone calls off, not my problem.
Right.
Someone quits, not my problem. So it's mostly Monday through Friday. Generally work 1 or 2 Saturdays a month. Sometimes based on performance. And then really the only busy time for me, Verizon, like, hey, you can't get off of work, is November, end of November, Black Friday through Christmas. Guess what? Ain't nobody getting married at that time.
Right.
So it works out really good for me.
And that's why this is, again, like just piggybacking off what you just said, this time of year, it's the same kind of deal. Nobody is really getting married this time of year. No one's really buying houses right now.
No one wants to move in the snow, bro.
Nobody wants to move.
Can't even move on Halloween no more. Snows.
Some people. Like, so ironically enough, I had a few things get pushed back last summer, not like 2023, 2022, and my quarter 4 was nuts. Like, I think I did like 14 units just in quarter 4.
Okay.
Yeah. So Christmas was cool. But the saying typically is nobody wants to move when there's turkey on the table or a tree in the corner.
Okay.
I like it. And that's just, it's just kind of the way it is. So that's why this kind of works out perfect because I can kind of feel it starting to slow down. There's a lot of, kind of reluctancy in the market because, the news likes to just make stuff up.
Yeah.
But it kind of works out perfect where I have a little bit less time. I'm working more on the listing side with a few things right now, so it's not as much legwork. And this is just, it's dope. It's a cool thing. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm happy that you were here for number 1.
Yeah.
I was sitting there when I had the idea. I'm like, man, I'm like sitting, thumbing through some stuff. I'm like, I think I can do this like next week. I'm like, who's number 1? And I'm like, Marty, duh. And I'm like, this is just going to be smooth. It's going to kind of set the tone for the vibe I want throughout. Because I know some folks, it's like, it's going to be an interview. And they only think
and they're like, I need to know my list of questions.
Right.
I messaged you. You're like, I'm like, like
chances are I'm going to screw up before you do. So, I mean, it's all
we
good.
Can get through it. No. And I think, again, coming from our roots of, we fit in with everybody.
Yeah.
We can get along in any group. Like you said, you could be at a house party with this people, but hey, I'm going to this house party with a completely different group.
Right.
And it wouldn't matter.
No.
It would not matter. And it rolled easy. And, I appreciate you asking for sure. I was down right away.
I know
it. Like, I got you, like, for sure.
Well, shameless plug time. I know we've only talked about our businesses, but shameless plug, where can people find you at if they're interested in getting some things set up for next year or 3 years down the road, it sounds?
Yeah, right. So, goodvibesonlydjs.com. So I have my own website, whatnot. Facebook, also Good Vibes Only DJ. If you're a bar, that type of thing, I go under DJ Marty P. Just I like to separate the two because you can get two different type of people coming to that event, you know. And then Facebook, Marty Hall. But honestly, you know, my phone number, like I'm on my phone all the time. It's vibrated 14,000 times since we've been on this, you know, 30, 45-minute podcast. But, you know, anyway, honestly, you can find me. I mean, you can Google Toledo DJs, and I'm going to be on that list, probably top 4 or 5.
Yeah.
It'll pop up right away, my website, my link, and everything else. So.
That is absolutely awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
That's so cool. And that's what this is all about. So, like, if anyone watching this has, like, gotten anything out of it, or if it was just a good listen, share it. Let everybody know about it. I think it's a pretty awesome conversation, all in all. See, I'm the same way. You know, if you need to buy, sell, or you're interested in rentals or anything like that, I'm going to have links for both of our websites down below, actually, so it's even easier than he was kind of alluding to. But, yeah, like it, share it, let everybody know about it. And if you have any other of your friends' businesses that you would be interested or think would be interested in doing something like this, please let us know. And we got the setup. We will pull up and we'll just have fun like we just did now. So, yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to everybody soon.
Peace.
That was it.
That was cool.
Yeah.
That was cool. So.
Other than the fucking
the peanut butter
tongue I got, it wasn't bad.